All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And as you can see here, this is an article. I have two articles here. All right, one from Axios.com and one from ZeroHedge.com. And as you can see, I titled it, "It's so bad out. It's so bad. Police aren't taking reports from rape victims." Okay, and as I was reading this article here from Zero Hedge, if the streets of America are this chaotic now, what will they be like when things really start hitting the fan? And in here, you can see I highlighted. This is a link that because they had mentioned about how how bad it's getting, that a lot of the police force are being stretched thin. Specifically here, the Seattle police, to the point where they're not able to take reports from rape victims. So, of course, I have that article here, and we can read a little bit about that. So I'm gonna first go through this portion here. When we get to this link, I'll open up the other article, and we go into it. It's locked here. Yeah, hello. Oh yeah. Hey, I'm doing a video right now, so I'll hit you after. All right. All right. All right. Shalom. Yeah, about you, my shepherd. All right. All right. So, going on. So I'm gonna read through, like I said, and then when we get to that part, we'll go into it. All right. But as you can see, we don't control this website, Zero Hedge, but even people are starting to see already what time it is. And people call us fear mongers, conspiracy theorists, all these things, all you want, but this is actually what's happening. This article I'm going to read is comprised of different events that are taking place in America that justify why the title has chaos in it, and it's showing you these examples as to how bad it already is right now, and how much worse it's going to get when things really start hitting the fan. So you really got to start thinking, because things are bad now, and the shit hasn't really hit the fan yet. So, anyway, it says, if the streets of America are this chaotic now, what will they be like when things really start hitting the fan? If you are not alarmed by what is happening to our largest cities, you should check to see if you still have a pulse, right? Basically, if you must be dead, right? If you're not alarmed by this, because if you're alive, you got to be. Once upon a time, the beautiful new cities that our forefathers constructed were the envy of the entire planet. But now, many of them have degenerated into crime-infested hellholes that are absolutely teeming with violent predators. Okay, and they're talking about, the article is talking about these cities, New York City, Seattle, all the different locations. And Yahushua did say that these things would happen, right? Because of because of iniquity, the love of many shall wax cold, which I have on deck. All right, but as it says here, shoplifting has essentially become a national pastime. Open air drug markets operate freely right under the noses of indifferent authorities, and addicts pull down their pants and take a dump whenever and wherever they feel like doing so. Thanks to record levels of illegal immigration, gang membership is absolutely exploding, and human trafficking has reached truly frightening levels. Starting to sound like The Purge yet? It says, of course, our steadily thinning police forces are overwhelmed at this point. In fact, police in Seattle are stretched so thin that they often are not able to take reports from rape victims. And what do you think information like this is going to do, not only to the victims, but also to the predators, right? Remember, he earlier said what? These hellholes are teeming with violent predators. So for those, because you know, you got predators that they watch, they read these kinds of things. So if now they start getting it into their heads that, you know what, even if I do take this woman and take her behind the park, if I have a mask on, she doesn't see me and yada yada yada, they ain't even gonna take the report, they ain't even gonna investigate it anyway. Now, one person has that mindset, multiple people have that mindset, then you have already thinned out police that are barely able, if at all, to handle some rape victim cases. Now that's going to be even worse because now you have an influx, and it's going to become the cases are going to go much higher as things get worse out here. You'll see. It says, and if you are the victim of a non-violent crime in Seattle, good luck ever getting a police officer to pay attention to your case. From coast to coast, communities are descending into a state of utter lawlessness. So if things are this bad already, what will conditions be like when things really start hitting the fan? And that's the question. That's the mindset people should be having, which is, damn, if things are already, you know, this bad. But, you know, a lot of people don't actually read articles. They don't watch the news. They don't keep up with what's actually going on across the country or across the world. So they don't even see how bad it is unless by chance they have the news on to CNN or News 12, you know, or they see it on social media. Then they'll say, oh, wow, this happened over here, or, oh, I don't live too far from here. But they don't see how this is, you know, things are chaotic all around on a certain level already. So they're not even thinking, well, if it's bad already now, how much worse is it going to be then? Until something like this happens to them, right? Oh, so like I said, I did say that we were going to check out this article. So this article here, let me do this. Let me put both articles in the chat. I'm going to put the main article, which we're going to be going through here first, and then we can put the second article here. All right. So this article, Axios.com, it says this was published on June 2nd, 2022. It says stretched thin cops failing to take reports from rape victims. Now it says Seattle police are failing to take rape and other sexual assault reports in a timely way, or sometimes even at all. From victims seeking treatment from Harborview Medical Center, King County's top sexual assault prosecutor told Axios Wednesday. Now, here's the thing, right? You may see Seattle, so you may think Seattle, but what you have to pay attention to is what is the cause? What is making the Seattle cops not be able to take reports from rape victims? Is because they're being stretched thin. They're running low on numbers, and yet they have to accomplish so much. Like what happened to Rome's military. So, in essence, this isn't just isolated to Seattle. This can happen in New York. It can happen in these other areas because one, through the demic and the mandates, you had a lot of people that lost you know, their jobs. Some that quit that were even on the police force. Okay. Salakia. So you have that, which is thinning their numbers. When you have more cases, more crime going up, that also adds to, in essence, in ratio aspect, the thinning of the numbers. And as layoffs, okay, start to become more commonplace, you're going to have even more thinning of numbers. More layoffs are going to lead to more crimes as well. Because when people don't have jobs, they get desperate. When they get desperate, they're more likely to, you know, get into these, you know, situations. The water. So as it says here, continue on. I just wanted to make that point that just because it's Seattle doesn't mean it's going to be only there. All right. So it says what they're saying. Sometimes an officer won't take a report for hours, and often they won't come out to take a report at all. They may only take a report over the phone, said Senior Deputy Prosecutor Ben Santos, chair of the Special Assault Unit for the King County's Prosecuting Attorney's Office. Santos said he's been informed about the reporting problems directly by Harborview officials and social workers. Yeah, because say you have a social worker that's dealing with a client or a patient or whatever term they use for them, and they're talking to them, then they see that one of the problems that they faced was being raped, and they're talking about it. They may ask, did you report it? Did this happen? And so if you as a social worker are constantly hearing that a lot of like victims are coming in and some of them have gone through these experiences and they report it, but nothing happens, or the police don't take the report, or these kinds of things, the social workers say they report that up the chain, you would have a situation like this, right? Now it says a Harborview spokesperson told Axios on Wednesday that a supervisor in charge of treating sexual assault victims was unavailable and didn't respond further. Why it matters. The delay in reporting has meant an unknown number of rape cases are falling by the wayside. Yeah, because if if numerous amount of rape cases are going on and the reports are not being taken or processed, you can't keep track of how many cases are there in total, because a lot of them are just being ignored, being tossed out because they're not getting to it. Now, like I keep saying, this is now, right? And there are going to be more events in the near future that are going to cause crime rates to go even higher, rape cases to go even higher, and police efficiency to go lower, which is a perfect storm for a bad time. Now um, it says as victims aren't able to report crimes or have second thoughts about reporting due to the lack of police follow through, Santos said. So if you are able to report the crime and then you never get a follow up, they don't tell, because somebody gets raped, right? They report it. They're expecting, okay, they're looking into it, trying to find the suspect and get it, but in you report it, and if you call them or you weigh in, you don't never hear anything back. So in essence, it's like it'll almost be the same as if you didn't report it. And if you call them, right, if you get raped and you escape, by that time your attacker is more than likely gone. So you call the police to report that to them, they're going they're not really going put that into a high level of priority if they even accept it at all. See, like I said, and that's happening now. And as things get worse, you'll see the reality will start to set in, and this will set off a trend, because you're gonna have predators that are gonna say, you know what, or you're gonna have people that are gonna say, you know what, them cases ain't even getting prosecuted. Not even prosecuted. They ain't even getting reported. And if they report it, they ain't gonna do nothing. So now, when when hopefully, right, when a chick is walking, she got some common sense to know, you know what, I shouldn't be out at a certain time, because rape has become too common nowadays. You know what? Instead of walking on this side, let me walk on this other side. You know what? Instead of walking by myself, let me make sure I have somebody with me. Because once that dude on the corner, here it is, it's 10 p.m. and you walking by yourself. There's barely anybody in the streets. And then the dude look at you saying, "Hey, yo, ma, what's up?" You know what I'm saying? Because in his mind, if he's probably thinking, ain't nobody here, ain't no cops gonna do nothing. See? So when we tell you it's getting bad, and you just think, oh, yeah, y'all just fear mongers. Y'all just like to say that's a scare. Okay. Yep, like the brother said, department's not responding because of fuel costs. Exactly, and that's another, that's another addition to that. So when the Lord said that He's going to bring calamities upon this place, the scriptures say that they shall seek peace and there shall be none. I mean, the most painful wake up call is coming to this place in the most painful way, and Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is the author. So as it says here, all right, I read this part right here. Driving the news, it says the new details from Santos came after the Seattle Times and the Quo jointly reported Wednesday that detective staffing within the Seattle Police Department's sexual assault and child abuse unit has been stretched so thin it stopped assigning new cases with adult victims. What that means is that within their police department, they have a certain section which deals with sexual assault and child abuse, and that unit has been stretched thin. They have too much on their plate that they can't take any new cases, right? With adult victims. So if you have an adult that gets abused, sexually assaulted, whatever the case is, you may report, but it doesn't mean that your report is going to be put onto the list. Okay, put onto the list to be investigated. Now it says the news report is based on an internal memo sent to interim police chief Adrian Diaz on April 11 by unit I'm guessing that's Sergeant Pamela St. John. So this was a memo that was sent to them. It says detectives now prioritize only a fraction of cases involving children or those involving adults where a suspect is in custody. That's their priority. So I hope you can already see how bad it's starting to get. All right. I hope you can already see it. Let me read maybe this part right here. It says the unit's depletion the unit's depleted staffing is a symptom of the department's wider staffing troubles in recent years, with the agency down more than 300 officers compared to 2 years ago. So back to the original article, as the title said, right? If the streets of America are this chaotic now, what will they be like when things really start hitting the fan? So let's keep going. So now we covered that part. Like I said, I put the links up here in the description box. I'm seeing if I can pin at least one of these comments. I mean, one of these messages, right? So now it says here, continuing a trend that we have seen for the past couple of years, crime rates all over the nation just keep going higher and higher. So you see how this is adding to the, when we say a perfect storm, what we're talking about is the worst case scenario in both sides of the problem happening, right? So when they say a perfect storm, like with food, when you have food shortages, that's one problem. But when you have inflation causing prices to go up, that's another problem. So when you combine them, it's like the perfect recipe for disaster. So take this, for example, when you have, let's say you look at police and you look at crime, right? Now, say the police force gets cut. So now you have less police, but the same amount of crime. That's a problem already. That is a way to where police are not going to be able to deal with all the crimes because there's less police now, right? So now imagine that, and then on top of that, you add an increase in crime. See why it's a perfect storm now, because the worst case scenario in both sides of the problem is what's happening. You have an understaffing of the police, and then in addition to that, you have a surge in crime. So it says here, it says continuing continuing a trend that we have seen for the last couple of years, crime rates all over the nation just keep going higher and higher. For example, auto theft, grand larceny, and transit crime are all up by more than 50% in New York City so far this year. Now, then it goes into a bit of description here. Maybe I'll read just a little bit. Data released by the New York City Police Department, and New York is through, right? New York is through completely. This place is. It says here, showed grand larceny auto increased by 51% with 51.1% with 5,420 incidents as of June 5th, compared to just 3,587 incidents by the same time in 2021. So now, let's come back down. It says here, I thought that the new mayor was elected to end the crime wave. It says here, instead, it appears that it has been supersized. Yeah, because this bald-headed demon, Eric Adams, he's not doing anything to help this place because his job is not to do anything to help this place. Okay? Remember, they have the appearance of a lamb, but speak as a dragon. When these guys run and try to get you to vote for them or support them, they're gonna give you that whatever it is they got to give you so you vote for them. You know, I don't know how this guy got up in there, but shit. It says instead it appears that it has been supersized. One way to hide the rapid rise in crime is to decriminalize things that used to be major offenses. You see? So let's take a let's take a look at this, right? Crime rates are going up. And you don't want it to look like that. You know, you don't want it to look as bad as it actually is. So you look at, okay, well, what do we consider crimes? Let's say selling drugs, doing drugs. Let's say that's a crime, right? Let's say rape is a crime. Let's say stealing is a crime. You know what we're going to do? Decriminalize stealing, decriminalize drugs. So now when people steal and people do drugs, that's not counted in our statistics of crime rates. So now our crime rating seems to be lower, but the crime is still going on. Right? It's just not being called a crime. So it says here, in Portland, voters decided to decriminalize hard drugs, but that just turned the city into an open-air drug market. The streets of Portland resemble an open-air drug market after state officials schemed to decriminalize hard drugs led to a surge in overdose deaths, critics claim. It says law enforcement agents say that the streets of Portland are full of homeless addicts openly buying and selling drugs, and that signs of drug addiction are actually increasing statewide. Yep, which is a problem that's already being faced now. How much more when things get worse? It says at one time Portland was one of the most magnificent cities in the entire world. Now it's a horror show. Yeah. How has this place fallen? Right? At one time, when he said in the beginning of the article, this place was top notch, this place was this place was that. Well, what do the scriptures say? As this place is going down, right? Let's real quick get the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, verse 8. It says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. But that's the thing. Verse 9, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. So all the problems or the wounds, right, that Babylon is going through or is facing are not going to be healed. Be it crime, be it economy, be it weather, be it food supply, it's not going to be healed. It says here, forsake her and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. Yeah, so don't expect any nations to come to your rescue. All right, as this place starts going down, don't expect, these other nations to try and come to the rescue, because that's not going to happen. Babylon has a special judgment that the Lord has set for it. So there's going to be hell in America before it gets destroyed. Let's see. So we have here, it says now it's a horror show. On top of all the ordinary crime that's going on, we are witnessing a very alarming rise in politically motivated violence. Oh, interesting. Now, I did mention this earlier, so before going on, let me get this real quick. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 12. It says, and because iniquity shall abound. Now, when you go into that word iniquity, let's actually go into it. All right, in essence, it means anarchy. Okay, the word here in the Greek is anomia, and it says the condition of without law. And that's what the word anarchy means. Okay, key is rule. Like you have monarchy, right? So key is rule, and anarch is without. So anarchy is without rule. So in essence, as it says in Matthew 24 and 12, and because iniquity shall abound, because anarchy shall abound. Well, what is accompanied with anarchy? What happens when you don't have rules? You have chaos, right? The love of many shall wax cold, because as things get more violent, oh, what's the saying? What's that? Good good times make weak men make hard times, and hard times make strong men, something like that. No, sorry. Good times, I'm gonna try to get it as best as I can. Good times make weak men make bad times make strong men make good times, something like that. All right, it's not perfect, but I think that's the best my memory will serve me. So when you have bad times make hard men, right? Or strong men, because you now need to be in a colder mindset to survive the condition of the world that you're in right now. So a lot of people are going to start turning cold because of the anarchy that's going on out here. And you're gonna, the kind of crimes that you're seeing, when you hear about it, you're like, yo, what? You know what I'm saying? They did what? Okay. So it says, the Supreme Court decision that will overturn Roe v. Wade is expected to be released this month, and a group known as Jane's Revenge has announced that it is open season on those with pro-life views. I mean, this. Can you imagine that? They're coming after people that are pro-life. Oh shit. Open season meaning that, like, if somebody says it's on site for you, it means that you're an open target. If we catch you, it's going down. Okay. It says the pro-abortion group Jane's Revenge is declaring it open season on pro-life groups and crisis pregnancy centers. I mean, shouldn't you be pro-life? Shouldn't you support life? So pretty much they saying no. We won't. We if you gonna come for pro-life people, that makes you anti-life. It says the group has a history of damaging property during their protests, and they took credit for the vandalization of a pregnancy resource center in Des Moines, Iowa, earlier this month. It says, in a message posted to social media, the group said they broke windows and left graffiti political messages all over the clinic. It was easy and fun, the message read. These guys are through, man. This country, this world is through. It says, sadly, okay, Khan, the water, bro. The water. Yahweh's Warrior and I will Awar 777. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. There we go. So the main part I wanted to focus on is hard times create strong men. You know, but in essence, when you look at it, is this through the Spirit of the Lord, as we learn more and more in this truth and grow and teach, you become numb, right? Which is actually can actually be a benefit, because when the brutal judgments start going out, you have a stronger stomach. All right, you're not squeamish. You don't get all bugged out and messed up over the judgments that are going out, because you become numb to it. All right, and you're able to do what you got to do regardless. So Let's see. It says here, in fact, it is being reported that there have been more than 36 attacks on pro-life groups, churches, and crisis pregnancy centers in recent weeks. It says an armed would-be assassin's alleged attempt on the life of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh last week is part of a wave of violence, arson, vandalism, and intimidation targeting pro-life groups and government officials. They shall not regard their kings nor their princes. Okay. 2nd Ezra 15. The course of their actions shall stand in their power. One people shall stand up against another with swords in their hands. It says, since the leak last month of a draft Supreme Court opinion that would overturn Roe v. Wade, there have been more than 36 such incidents directed at crisis pregnancy centers and churches in at least 20 states and Washington, D.C., according to a tally maintained by lifenews.com, an anti-abortion site. So you can already see, and these so far is just a few that have been listed. You have, larceny, you have rape, you have this right here, there's violence against pro-life, this pro-abortion joint, and everywhere you turn, there's some news about violence or brutality or chaos. That's the theme. Jacob's Trouble is not a time. It's not like a time where you sing Christmas carols and drink eggnog, all that BS. No, this is about to be a deadly serious time. Not just a serious time, a deadly serious time. Okay? It says the thin veneer of civilization that we all take for granted on a daily basis is rapidly dissipating. And when you really look at it, it's like a slower version of the Purge, where in the Purge, they all know the one day of the week. The one day in the year, right? Everybody gets prepared, and then when the sun goes down or when the time hits, the alarm goes off. All crime is legal for 12 hours, and then boom. I think they had something called a Forever Purge, which came after that. But the point is, and right now they're not just coming out one day and saying, all right, all crime is legal for this period of time. They're doing it slowly, right? They're slowly causing and allowing the city to sink into chaos, and they know just the right buttons to push and just the right strings to pull to fully get that rage and that aggression and that desperation and that violence out of the people. All right. So it says here, and our streets are becoming more uncivilized with each passing day. Yeah, it's going to keep being like that until it hits a point like never before. Jeremiah 30:7. Okay, that's right. This is Yahweh's warrior, Amos 5:18. Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light. Yeah. And these people have absolutely no clue what's getting ready to happen on these streets. They don't realize what this is all leading to. They're not seeing the warning signs. So it says here, if this is happening while economic conditions are still relatively stable, what will happen once things start getting really crazy out there? And that's a very, very good point. We can see the economy is tanking, but the key word is tanking. It's in the process. It hasn't fully tanked yet. So, like he said, the conditions are still relatively stable, but what are you going to do when it really gets crazy out here? When you start seeing hyperinflation, when the country's in a recession, when shit is so violent, it's so bad and desperate that people get violent. When you read 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, in the same chapter, it tells you why people are going to be doing the things they're going to be doing. Because of a lack of bread and tribulation. Them being desperate, them going through these hard times. So, if we can tell you something, we're going to tell you that it's only going to get worse from here. So, the best you could do is just prepare for that. Now, it says in some parts of the world, the food crisis has already reached critical levels. For example, the government of Sri Lanka has actually shortened the work week so that workers will have more time to grow their own food. Hear that? It says here, Sri Lanka's federal government on Monday approved a proposal that would shorten the work week of most public sector staff to 4 days so that workers will have time to farm their own crops. Reuters reported Tuesday, noting the measure aims to combat Sri Lanka's worsening food shortages caused by a recent economic crisis. Yeah. Now, over here, it ain't gonna be like that. Look, I'm in the Bronx, right? I'm in New York. So I look around and there ain't no fertilized looking soil around here. All right, the trees, look here, I don't even know how they're still standing. They look barely alive and they never bear fruit. In the wintertime, you see branches, the roots look dry and dead. I don't know how they still grow, how they still grow leaves, but they do some way, somehow. Okay. So I'm looking here and I don't see any people who have experience in farming and none of that for the most part. So if you tell people now, grow your own food, they're going to look at you like, excuse me? What do you mean grow my what? No. I want to go to BJ's. I want to go to Stop and Shop. I want to go to Trader Joe's. Take me to ShopRite. That's all they know. They think that when they go to the grocery store, that's the equivalent of making your own food. Yeah, I gotta go, I purchase my ingredients, I come and I make the food. Now, what happens when the ingredients are not there? So it says here, Sri Lanka's cabinet late on Monday approved a proposal for public sector workers to be given leave every Friday for the next 3 months, partly because the fuel shortage made commuting difficult and also to encourage them to farm. Like, it's getting so bad. Governments are telling their people, look, start farming, because oh shoot. Because you're gonna need something. you don't farm, it's on your ass. And then you have, meanwhile, I think in what is it, Aussie? You got them telling the people, look, between 6 and 8 p.m. just turn the lights off because that's how we gonna save energy. This is crazy, huh? Now it says over in Africa, the United Nations has stopped feeding approximately 1.7 million citizens of South Sudan because they simply do not have enough funding to feed the rapidly growing throngs of desperately hungry people. This is why Second Ezra 16, matter of fact, let me pull that up. This is why the scriptures say what they say. We are living in the fulfillment of prophecy. All right, Second Ezra 16, I think this is 16:24. Nope, might be 16 and 22. Yeah, that's a good one. But it's not the one I'm looking for. But I'll read it anyway, then I'll find the other one. This is Second Ezra 16 and 22. It says, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Right? So that's because what? This famine that's going on. Now, when this happens, what is that actually going to lead to? Let me see. Perish of famine. I know it's in 16, Second Ezra 16. All right, Second Ezra 16 and 22. That's right. So it says here, I thought I just read that. That's interesting. Huh, okay. So Second Ezra 16:22, it says, for many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. And the key part here is many that dwell upon earth. All right, oikomeni. So not just one part, but the whole planet. So when you got famines going on, as it says here in Africa, the UN has stopped feeding approximately 1.7 million citizens. Now, if those citizens were depending on the UN to feed them, they must be in a really, really bad situation. So now that the UN has stopped feeding them, what are they going to do? Not really much that they can do. And don't be surprised when you start hearing cannibalism stories or cannibalism cases. One day you just may see an article, or you may be listening to the news and they'll say a bizarre story tonight. Oh, Khan, the water. I read Second Ezra 6. Okay, all right. I meant to get Second Ezra 16, but that's the spirit anyway. But yeah, you might be watching the news and you'll see, tonight we have a bizarre story as cases of cannibalism are starting to rise. And then they'll take, over to you, John. We have our reporter John who's there in the city right now, and he says, and the constant John. Yeah, hello, Mike. Yeah, I'm here right now, standing 2 feet away from the location where this man says his half of his face was bit off by a hungry individual who then turned around and said, "I'm sorry, I'm just hungry," and then they ran off. Police say they're still looking for him, but yeah, it's getting pretty crazy out here, huh? So don't be surprised if you hear stories like that. And then maybe a couple weeks later, the dude comes back on the news tonight. More alarming cases. We have more cases of cannibalism are skyrocketing as people are not getting enough food to eat, and they're turning to desperate means. See, so because these things are going to happen when people don't have food, things like cannibalism follow through. All right. So it says here, the World Food Program has been forced to stop providing food aid to around 1.7 million people in South Sudan because of lack of funding. The UN-run organization will still reach 4.5 million people, but many will miss out on vital resources. Sheesh. All right, let's come down. It says all the experts are telling us that the global food crisis is going, now pay attention here, is going to get a lot worse as the months roll along. I'm gonna read that again, nice and slow. All right. Let's start off there. All, what does all mean? It means everybody, right? So all of the experts are telling us that the global, another key word, we're not dealing with just America, we're not dealing with just UK or Russia or anywhere. The global food crisis is going to get a lot worse. Another key word, we're not talking about is just going to get worse. It's going to get a lot worse as the months roll along. And then on top of that, what can you add? You can add the prices of things going up as farmers are telling you that come this fall, you're going to see a very high jump in your food prices. So we're pretty much at that time. Okay, there's no other way to put it. It says if the UN has already reached the limit of what they are able to do, who is going to help the millions upon millions of hungry people that will soon need help in order to survive? Now it says here in the US, food production has been affected by a bizarre series of disasters, and it is bizarre. But are people questioning it? Only a few. What is the fat ass average consumer doing? The one who really eats the most, instead of them to be concerned, they don't even have a clue as to what's going on. It says, and we are being warned that much less will be produced this year than originally anticipated. I think that one expert summed up the current situation very well when he warned that we are teetering on the edge right now. And then you also got blackouts, energy, because you got energy shortages going on. It says here, Pennsylvania farmers are being crushed by the real cost of diesel, so much so that questions about a food crisis are starting to loom. The Morning Call reported. One farmer in Lehigh County is quoted as saying, "I've got a tractor hooked up to my corn planter out here, no diesel fuel, and I can't afford to get any." So that means no corn. It says that farmer was airing his gripes to Kyle Kotzmoyer, a legislative affairs specialist for the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau. We'll call him Moyer. Moyer then turned around and testified to state lawmakers, "We have reached that point to where it is very close to being a sinking ship." we are on the edge, or we are teetering on the edge right now. So everybody is giving you warnings, and I cannot believe that with all these warnings going on, you still got people that are not taking heed, and you're going to regret it big time. It says if we eventually get to a point where food prices spiral completely out of control and there are widespread shortages, do you think that those living in our core urban areas will respond with grace and patience? See? So of course not. See? So they're letting you know Second Ezra 15 is getting ready to happen on a large scale. For what? For the lack of bread. Bread is another way of just saying food. For the lack of bread and for great tribulation. These people, at what? The course of their actions shall stand in their power. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. A man shall not have pity upon his neighbor. Right? Their houses shall be spoiled, and he will spoil their goods. Why? I'm going to read this part again. If we eventually get to a point where food prices spiral completely out of control, number one, and there are widespread shortages, do you think that those living in our core urban areas will respond with grace and patience? Of course not. Instead, people will go absolutely nuts. We got a small preview of what is to come during the Arab Spring of 2011. There were serious food shortages around the world that year, and that resulted in tremendous civil unrest. So you already have examples. Here in the United States, most people do not have large amounts of food stored up, and that is especially true in our largest cities. So we better hope that the rapidly growing global food crisis does not affect us too severely, because the truth is that we are definitely not equipped to handle such a scenario. And you know what? That's exactly what's going to happen, because prophecy said so. Okay? Prophecy, prophecy, prophecy. And yeah, ultimately that's what you see going on. So I read through a lot of these different examples as to how it's already chaotic right now. These are the problems that not only America but the world is facing right now. So what do you think it's actually is going to happen when SHTF, right? When these things start hitting the fan and things just start going downhill, it's going to get bad, brutal. Okay, brutal, brutal, brutal. Yep, that's right. That's a good precept right there that the brother put up, Yahweh's warrior in 2 Kings 6. You can definitely check that out, because that was an example of famine causing cannibalism. But what was so interesting about it was that the cannibalism was between the parent and the child, to where they ate. Okay, they ate their own child. So I mean, that's how serious it got, right? It's not. See, if you ask somebody, right, yo, would you eat human meat? They'll like, yo, what's wrong with you, bro? No, of course not. But now you get so hungry that you're willing to eat human meat. But it's worse when you're so hungry. I mean, how hungry do you have to be that not only are you willing to eat human meat, but you're willing to eat your own child? And I always say this: if your child is alive, how do you realize that you need to murder the child and then cook the child and then eat the child, which means you need to murder the child, cut them up into pieces, knowing that that's your child that came out of you, okay, and then cook them. So I mean, imagine how hungry somebody has to be able to go through all that, right? And that's the times we're coming into. So I put the articles in the chat. If you want to check them out, you can go ahead. And Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodesh. Until next time, Shalom.